Okay, Wendy, so I'll pass things over to you for you to introduce yourself in your office.
Okay, and I would also ask if you could allow me to share my screen. That would be great too. As he's doing that, my name is Wendy Kohler. I work in the Center on Disability. I'm the director, but we're more a team there. Other folks in our office include Ms. Williams, who's our administrative associate, and from what I'm hearing, she, like Ms. Hope, is the glue that holds that office together. She is often your first line person coming through the door. She's been at the college for many years, is exceptionally well-versed in everything CCP. So if you have an opportunity to talk with Ms. Williams, I think you'll be pretty rewarded. The other person is Lisa Pappert, and she works with technology and just like me, meets with students to determine accommodations. I have been at the college since 2013. And so now I guess I've now entered the era of not a long timer, but I'm no longer a new person. I think at 5 years, you stop being a new person to the college. I'm not really sure. But I'm beginning to feel like, I know a little bit about the college. It takes a little bit to get to know CCP, but we're all here to help you. So with that introduction, let me just start my presentation. Hang on. All right. So again, we're the Center on Disability. My name's Wendy. There's Lisa and Ms. Williams. We've already discussed that. The idea today is for me to give you a sense of how to get connected with us. And if there's time, I'd really like to talk to you about, and I guess should I admit Richard Campbell?
Oh, yeah, we'll take care of that. Thank you so much.
Okay. And talk about sort of what the connection is between our office and the Center for Male Engagement, because I think there are strong connections between all of us. First of all, I start with like, welcome, we don't bite, because it seems like people are somewhat afraid to come through the doors for the Center on Disability. And I think a little later, we'll talk about why that might be, but we don't bite. We're here to help you. We really do want to support your success as you work through CCP. And so please come through the door, even if it is to say hello. Our physical location, as best as I recall, because I haven't been there in a while, is right across from an enrollment central. That is what it looked like when we left. I'm not really sure what it looks like now. My understanding is there are new stairs. There's all sorts of things going on, but that's what it looked like when we left. Now, you can always access us online. We're at myccp.online/COD. And that is all things about the Center on Disability. And if you remember nothing, remember we're the COD, because that COD is how you can get in touch with us in many different ways online. COD@ccp.edu is our email address. I would strongly encourage you, if you have a quick question, to email us there. It is easier to connect with us through our email address than the front desk number, which is monitored, but we check it like once, twice a day and then get back to people, and we can start getting into phone tag. But once we can connect with you, we all have Google Voice numbers. And this is not moving. Okay, so basically, who do we serve? Anybody who had an IEP or 504 plan is welcome to connect with us. Folks with chronic health or mental health conditions you may not have had in high school, we certainly welcome you to connect with us. People with hearing loss, vision loss, mobility concerns, brain injuries, autism, learning disability, attention deficit disorder, all of those disabilities are covered by our office. And we do recommend that you reach out to us about 6 weeks before you require accommodations. We see anywhere from right now 750 students a year, and there are 2 of us who meet with students. So this is why we need some lead time to meet with you. How you would get connected with us. Basically, you fill out a student information form, which is very, very brief. You submit documentation, and when we talk about documentation, that's information about your disability or your condition, and it helps us determine, 1, that you are eligible for our services, and 2, it helps us understand the barriers that you might encounter in the academic environment so we can help you. And then once we receive that information, then we want to meet with you so that we can talk about the information you've provided us and what we might be able to do together to remove some of the barriers in the environment. So that's it in a nutshell. And again, the student information form looks like this right now. It's, as you can see, very brief. At some point soon, it will be an online form, which will be even easier to fill out. That connects you with your banner information. So it will be very straightforward, and you just hit submit as opposed to attaching it to an email and sending it to us. Our documentation guidelines, if your student had an IEP or 504 plan in high school, then we're looking for your most recent information. Evaluation information is very helpful to us so we understand what is in an IEP. However, if you've developed a condition after high school, then we are looking for some information from your care team that provides us with what the condition is, how we might expect it to impact you in an academic environment, sort of the prognosis of the condition, and anything that we might put into place that can be of assistance to you. If you have any question about our documentation guidelines, again, email us at cod@ccp.edu or ask us to give you a call, and we'll be glad to do that. Why does all of this matter? Why would you want to connect with us? Well, first of all, if the barrier exists now, why not remove it? Why continue to confront the same barrier over and over again? A lot of times students will think, well, I had a disability in high school, but I can leave that behind. But why would you? The barrier could exist for any one of us at any point in time. Any one of us, if we're not currently in the category of a person with a disability, we could become that person at any point in time through accident, injury, health concerns, mental health concerns. All of those things may put us into the category of a person with a disability. The barrier could exist for a peer, and they could maybe use your support. We're all in this together. We truly are all in this together. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. And there is, in my mind, a definite connection between us and you. That connection that exists for all of us is ableism, in my mind. And recently listened to a podcast done by Rebecca Coakley and Ibram Kendi, and they talk about racism and ableism as being roots of the same tree, and all those roots are connected through ableism. And ableism is a system that places value on people's bodies and minds based on societally constructed ideas of normality, intelligence, excellence, desirability, and productivity. The thing that I really want to emphasize on this is this form of systemic oppression leads to people and society determining who is valuable and worthy, based on a person's language, appearance, religion, and or their ability to satisfactorily produce or reproduce, excel, and behave. And why this matters is because you don't have to be disabled to experience ableism. And I think that is what connects us all. And this was a definition that was presented in the podcast, and it was it's a working definition. So it's in a process, but it really got me to thinking, because I've always known, you know, I used to work in upstate New York, and we had to think about how we were all connected a lot, because we brought together a lot of people who did not normally interact. And, you know, some things that stuck with me early in my life was, you know, if, you know, we're all part of the, you know, oppression and whatnot is all parts of a wheel, spokes of a wheel. And if we're not about all the spokes, we're about none of those spokes, you know, and that really has struck me over time. And I think this particular construct is what brought it together in my mind. So, you know, what happens when I'm not supporting you and you're not supporting me? Let's think about that. A lot of our social ills right now happen, in my mind, when we're not supporting one another. What happens when we internalize the belief that one of us is better than the other? And what happens when we use ableist language, such, you know, ableist language around disability? It can be very hurtful. And how can we fight ableism together? And I think that's the only way. You know, we talk about civil rights, but we talk about civil rights in these little pockets. And I think keeping us in our little squares and our little pockets sort of perpetuates the problem. I think if we were more concerned with one another and how we all relate, I think we could do just a little bit better in our fight for social justice. I just wanted to share this video, if we have a moment, just about how deeply entrenched, you know, and hurtful ableism can be.
He said, I was the youngest of three brothers. And in the first grade, my dad used to beat me. And he used to beat me because he liked beating me. He didn't need a reason to beat me. He just, for no reason, we'd be sitting at the kitchen table. He'd reach across the table and slap me in the face. He was an extraordinarily cruel man and used to beat me for no reason. But when I did something wrong or made a mistake, I used to get, generally when my dad beat me, he'd beat me in the living room or the kitchen, and I could just run away and go hide until he fell asleep and come back. But when I did something wrong or made a mistake, I used to get what my brothers and I called the bathroom beating. And a bathroom beating went like this. My father would take me, drag me into the bathroom, close the door behind us, lock the door, and then beat me until he got tired of beating me. And in a bathroom beating, you couldn't get away. You ran in the closet, he was there. You ran behind the toilet, he was there. You jumped in the shower, he was there. That was a bathroom beating when you did something wrong. He said, and in the first grade, I couldn't read. I just couldn't read. And I was so embarrassed that I couldn't read. And the way they used to teach reading in my school system when I was a kid is Mrs. Donovan, the reading specialist from the district, would come every other Thursday. And she'd take all the kids in the first grade who couldn't read and bring them to the front of the class and make them read out loud in front of the other kids. And he said, and that was so embarrassing and humiliating for me that every other Thursday before Mrs. Donovan arrived, I'd go into the boys' room just before she arrived and take my reading glasses and twist them until they broke, or break one of the lenses, or pop one of the lenses out. And then when Mrs. Donovan would come, I'd go up to her with the broken glasses and say, Mrs. Donovan, my glasses are broken. I can't read today. And I did that every other Thursday for a year with the full knowledge that when I got home, I was going to get a bathroom beating for it. When I showed my father the broken glasses, that I was going to get a beating. And the saddest part of that story is, I'll bet you anything, if you look at that child's file, somewhere Mrs. Donovan wrote, this kid is not motivated. I mean, you don't break your glasses every other Thursday for a year unless you're doing it on purpose. She must have known he was doing it on purpose and interpreted that the child was not motivated, which is so sad. That child was probably the most motivated child Mrs. Donovan will ever have. His motivation was to avoid the humiliation.
So, you know, let's think about that. You know, a lot of times we think we know what is motivating other people, but how many of us have been motivated to avoid humiliation, embarrassment? Sometimes that has come in academic environments. It can come in social situations. It can come in a lot of different places. So in order to start becoming motivated for things that are more productive, you know, I would say that we need to start creating some environments that promote encouragement of each other's efforts, and embodying teamwork, and cooperation with one another, providing safe spaces where people can say, I'm having a problem, I need some help, inspiring one another, you know, and assuming some responsibility for each other. The CME creates such a great environment where people can hopefully feel safe and accept responsibility both for yourself and seek to assist each other. And hopefully all of you will support one another to seek assistance. And perhaps when you're nervous or scared about something, perhaps you know, saying, I'll go over there with you. You know, you have great coaches in the Center for Male Engagement, but there are only some of them. I don't even know how many anymore. And there are more of you. And so if each of you takes a little responsibility for another of you, I think you could have a really productive experience and experience those moments of transformation that we hope that college can be. At one point, I was really taken during one of the Super Bowls, and I'm not great with names, Malcolm Mitchell. He indicated that he had gone to college, and he knew when he went to college that he read at a junior high school level. And, you know, when he got to college, he was embarrassed. But instead of sitting in his embarrassment and shame for not being able to read better, he joined, of all things, a suburban women's book club, where they, you know, where they just read books and talked about books. And it was a transformative experience for him, but also for them. And, you know, when his football career was ended by a knee injury, he ended up being a children's book writer and a poet. And, you know, again, it was at the moment where he was able to accept where he was and look for assistance from unlikely sources. And I would say as well, my experience of CCP is that you will find your transformative moments in the most unlikely places. Sometimes they're in the obvious places, but sometimes they're not. CCP is filled with Philadelphians who are, you know, like true blue Philadelphians, and they know every nook and cranny of the city, and they know where to get the best apples and this and that. I mean, like, they just know the city inside and out. And when you share your passion and your goals with a person, you never know if that person may be able to connect you with your transformative experience. So I would encourage you to encourage one another. And if you're concerned about coming over to us, well, then, you know, reach out, take a chance, talk with your coaches. If you have an experience in our office that is not a welcoming experience, let us know, let your coaches know, but we really do want to support your success here at CCP. And of course, I end again with, you know, when in doubt, when you don't know how to get connected with us, cod@ccp.edu. Can't emphasize that enough. cod@ccp.edu, and our information online. So that's what I have for you today. And I really wish you a wonderful program, your iExcel program. And I know that you're part of a great team. you're at the CME. I can't say enough about the folks in the CME, and I hope if you need us that you will allow us to become part of your team as well. Any questions?